Good morning. Welcome to Sports Desk Live on Comcast Channel 26, also streamed on Facebook. Along with producer Alden Iwani, I'm your host, Ed Nunez. Our very special guest today, Carlsbad baseball coach Cody May. Coach, you were down here last week, and Rio Rancho beat you in the finals of the South Puentes tournament, 17-10. But you are the defending 2022 state champions. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Appreciate you having us.
Oh yeah, Coach. It's baseball season. It's basketball season ended a couple of weeks ago, and we keep a close eye on your program at Carlsbad. You've had some fantastic success there, Coach. You and I talked about this a little bit before you came on, and Carlsbad, you've had some players drafted in the pros. One of them is Trevor Rogers, and then Nolan Perry, who had a heck of a season last year. So good that you didn't even have to throw him in the championship game last year when you beat Sandia 7-0. Sandia got all of 2 hits. And I remember I told you I did the PA for that game, and Sandia was a loaded team, a very good team. And all due respect to the late Chris Eaton, we all miss him very much. A very good coach and a good man. But it was the Cavemen's Day last spring, and that game I remember being in the PA booth, and I'm thinking, gosh, this game is going so quick because there's Sandia's not getting very many hits, and you put enough offense together to win a state championship. Tell us a little bit about the 2022. You just come back to coaching. We'll get to that in a minute. But tell us a little bit about that fantastic team last year.
It was. So, really, I felt like we had a young team last year. We only graduated 4 seniors off that squad. But, coming back into coaching last summer and getting adapted to these kids, I think the most important thing for them was they were just wanting to get back into a competitive situation and get back into a program where they could compete. And so I just felt like our kids bought into what we brought back when we got back last August. And, man, they were hungry for it, wanting to get after it. And so they bought in from day one and just really competed all year. And so we had good talent to go with it, of course. And so just kind of, I didn't know how good we were going to be last fall till we started playing some other teams once the spring started. But once we got going, I kind of realized that, hey, we got a pretty good team. We got a shot at trying to bring home another blue trophy. And, once we got to Albuquerque, I kind of felt like we played our best baseball of the season, which was very important. So, no, it worked out really well for us.
I'll tell you, it was done with emphasis when that final 7-0 victory. Sandia was a hot team. We mentioned Mats, Barella, Danny Santiago, their catcher, is one of my favorite players in the state. That kid is as hard nosed as they come. And your pitching that day. You mentioned you threw Graham Harrell.
Grant Harville, yes sir.
Grant Harville. We'll talk about his performance that day because and you were rich in arms, so rich that I think Nolan Harrell was already on a pitch count, or Nolan Perry, I think, right? He was on he wouldn't have been able to pitch that day anyway, I don't think. But you had enough strength in numbers as far as arms go that you didn't have to worry about that.
Correct. And so that's kind of why we set up our program throughout the whole season. That's why we go to so many tournaments. The whole month of March, we go to 3-day tournaments. And what that does is it forces us to develop basically a third game starter. So last year we had Nolan Perry and Mac Mabry, which were our 2 horses on the mound. And Grant Harville just started coming around about halfway through the season. And once we got into district, he was that third game starter for us and did well. You know what I mean? He pitched really well over in Hobbs when we played for the district championship. I beat them over there in the third game too. And so, we were fortunate enough to beat Farmington in the first round. And then we won the second game against Hobbs, which was a tight ball game. I think it was 4-3, and Mac Mabry threw that for us as well. So once we got into Saturday, we had watched all the Sandia games, and we knew what kind of team they had. They played with a lot of excitement, a lot of energy. And so if they ever got the momentum, they were going to be a tough team to stop. And so that was kind of what our game plan was, is if we could score some runs early against them on that Saturday morning, and Grant just, really tried to keep us in the game. I didn't expect him to throw as well as he did. But fortunately, he threw lights out for us and was able to keep them off the scoreboard.
He pitched a great game. You mentioned they're a team that plays downhill when they get, they string together a hit and run. They get a couple of base hits. Their pitching was excellent. So you mentioned that you can't give enough credit to your pitcher that day. And what a beautiful day it was, Coach. No
Yep.
wind, sun, about 55, 60 degrees. You couldn't have asked for a more perfect day that day at Ice Coast Park. And congratulations again. We're reliving it, but that's how good your program's been. Your program has
Yes,
been
sir.
very good. Coach, you want to, we mentioned this before we came on. You ventured back, you stepped away from coaching in 2017 and came back last year. Tell us a little bit about that. You and I had a conversation about it. You stepped away. I read the article. You stepped away. You wanted some more time with your daughters and your family. That's understandable. It's very
Yeah.
understandable that they're playing. Sometimes when you're coaching, you don't get to see them play. Talk a little bit about that and what your decision was to return to coaching. It turned out to be a pretty darn good decision. But talk a little bit about that. You were gone for 5 years.
Yeah. So, after this 2017 season, I got two little girls, and I want to say at that time they were 7 and 4. And any coach can agree, right? Is we spend more time with everybody else's kids as coaches than we do our own. And I just didn't want to have regrets when I got older. And you hear so many people talk about how fast it goes by, and I didn't want to be 50 and think, man, I wish I'd have spent more time with my kids, because I've always thought I can coach forever. They're always going to need coaches. They'll always need help with it. And I thought, man, this would be a good time for me to get out. And so throughout those 5 years, I had the opportunity to coach my girls in golf and basketball and softball, and really didn't have any intentions of coming back till the job came open again last summer. And so I just talked to my wife and kids and said, hey, this is the opportunity. What do you think about me going back to coaching? And they were all on board. They love it. They enjoy the kids. We have them over at our house, pretty much before every game. We feed them. And so it's really just a big family. And so for us to be able to get back into it last year and have the success we did, it made it that much more sweeter for us. So we're excited to be back.
You got support from your wife. You think you said at first you kind of hedged about it a little bit because you're kind of enjoying life. You're enjoying
Absolutely.
being with your daughters and coaching them and watching them. And you mentioned sometimes when you're coaching other kids, you don't have the time to do that. So you were appreciating life and you were appreciating where you were. But I think you said it was your wife that kind of said you ought to think about it. And when you get support, sometimes my wife, she's been a basketball widow since we got married. I
Yep.
was playing for a while, then I was coaching, then I was reffing, now I'm broadcasting. Thank God she understands. Thank God she loves sports. Otherwise, so you were in that place. So when you got some encouragement from your wife to return back to the to coaching, that must have encouraged you even a little bit more because she might have been saying, "Hey, I like you home. I like you here." So when you got
Yep.
that encouragement from her, what did that mean?
Yeah. So just it was a blessing, right? And so I wasn't going to do it without our whole family on board. And so once they, talked about it, we prayed about it, and I said, hey, we want you to go back and do it. I think you'd be good for the kids and be good for our program and our community. And so once I got my family's blessing, we jumped in with both feet and got after it, and just had a good year last year. So we're thankful we're back.
Yeah, I'll tell you what to say the least. Talk a little bit about you grew up in Tularosa. You mentioned your father, Johnny May, was the coach out there at Tularosa with baseball, right?
He was a basketball coach. He coached
Basketball.
baseball early, but yeah, he was primarily a basketball coach there.
What was his influence? When you grow up around a coach. I coached at Highland. My son coached at St. Pius. It kind of the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. What was his influence on you as far as coaching growing up? And again, he coached basketball. And Coach May was around there for a long time. But you grew up
Yep.
around him. What was his influence, and what kind of coaching techniques? And it's different. That's what coaching is, coaching with kids. What did you learn
hmm
from your father?
Well, everything I've ever known, I've been coached, right? So I wouldn't say my parents taught me a whole lot; they coached me a whole lot, right? And so that's just kind of the way I was grew up and way I was raised. And so, it's kind of been in my blood from a little kid, because that's all. I was a gym rat. I was at the football field, baseball field my entire life, and so it's what I knew and what I enjoyed. And so my dad had a big influence on me as far as starting out my coaching career, and he's always been there to support and give some advice. And so he follows us around. He goes to every game. He was up in Rio Rancho this week, and so if you're ever at a Caveman baseball game and you look in the stands and seeing the loudest person in there giving play by play, that's going to be Johnny May.
I have to laugh because it's fitting, right? That's how much
Yep.
he loves you, and it doesn't go away. Probably after the game, you call him. How did it go? What'd you think? He tells you what he thought, right? My son would do that when I would be at his games when he coached. What'd you think? And I tell him, and I'm sure that still
Yep.
goes on with you and your dad.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we talk about it quite a bit, and he'll be the first one to jump on and say, "Why'd you run a hit and run there? That wasn't very smart," you know. But no, he's good. He just enjoys being around the game, still being around kids, and he comes, like I said, he's at most games. He's in the dugout, and he's still coaching kids in there, and he just enjoys being around the sport.
I don't think it ever goes away. It doesn't. He may not be
No,
38 years. He coached at Tularosa. Is that right?
yes, sir.
So that never goes away because when you see something, you always want to correct. There's still a coach in me. I still want to coach. It's been a while,
Yep.
but there's still that
Yeah.
part of me, the teacher part, that probably you couldn't wait to get back to. You've been out 5 years. You were enjoying life, but when you jump back into it, you went in feet first. I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of the deal as a coach, right? I mean, if you're going to do something, do it right, buy into it, and try to give these kids every opportunity to succeed. And so, that's kind of what we did. We got back last August and really kind of had to implement a new program. The coach that was there before kind of did things a lot different, which there's nothing wrong with it. And so once we got back, our kids really, like I said before, just bought into it and said, "Hey, coach, we want to have a shot at winning a state championship. What do we got to do?" And so we just started laying the groundwork and foundation for them from day one. And like I said, they bought into it 100%, and we're lucky enough to be successful last year.
Coach, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to ask you about Trevor Rogers. We have to. And we're going to ask you about this year's version of the 2023 Carlsbad Caveman when we get back after these messages on the sports desk.
It's 61 earlier this year. But Hope with a steal and a bucket. Noah Perry puts Hope on the board first. Full court pressure.
Lovato gets his second bucket. Just reared his head down and put it up for two with the left hand. 8-4, there's a bucket and one. Cruz with the bucket.
But some of them are in khakis. Here's the offense. 3-point basket by number one is good. And we are tied with 4 seconds left.
Charlie, 5 quick turnovers. I'm sure Coach Otero, there's 6 right here.
Another bucket, and that is Antalelu.
Hill in the corner. Buries a 3. Andrew Hill with 17 points. Under 50 points.
Seconds left. Back door to Stanford. Scoops and scores. Lays it in.
What a pass by Costa.
No, Storm fan want a foul. Instead, the Jags end up with the ball. Morris pulls up 3, puts it down. Back-to-back threes.
Run and be patient. Now they gotta speed the process.
Under his legs on the pass. What a dime from Kellen Garris to Justin Mass. That's going to be on the top 10. Under his legs.
Now again.
Can't foul here if you're Pius. Ball goes to Estrada. He'll put up 3. And it goes in at the buzzer. Damian Estrada closes the game out for Valencia. And stay tuned.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
On any given night in America, there's almost 35,000 homeless veterans out there, and they're struggling. Oftentimes, food is something that gets sacrificed. It's easy to ignore it or lose track of that, but it's a desperate need in this community. And that's why we offer this food pantry to help those veterans. I had the privilege of running into a veteran. I said, I know it's just a drop in the bucket. And he said, I would not be alive today if it wasn't for this place. You obviously have a choice of card every time you make a purchase, but if you use this metal card, you'll be helping a veteran in need.
After the holidays, it's challenging to see the bills come in. If you or someone you know needs help paying your P&M bill, we can help. Limited income customers may qualify for part or all of their past due electric bills to be paid, thanks to the P&M Good Neighbor Fund and the generosity of fellow New Mexicans and P&M shareholders. If you don't qualify for the program and need extra time or payment options, P&M can help. Visit pnm.com/billhelp.
P&M are proud supporters of ProView Sports.
Don't sacrifice quality of flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
We fight the battles no one hears about.
We drop into the middle of firefights to rescue others.
And act as one-man air traffic control towers. We're the ones who go before all others.
U.S. Air Force Special Warfare are proud supporters of ProView Sports.
Welcome back to the Sports Desk live on Comcast Channel 26, also streamed on Facebook. I'm your host, Ed Nunez. Our very special guest today, Carlsbad boys baseball coach Cody May. And Coach, did some great conversation even during the break here. You love baseball, man. You love to coach. You love, and you have to love it. You have to. You mentioned all the time you spend, but gosh, when it culminates in a championship, it doesn't get any better than that. You know, your overall record 177 and 49, 7 district championships, 3 state championships, 2012, 2016, and 2022. You've sent 24 kids to play at the college level, 2 kids to the pros. One of them, Trevor Rogers, first-round pick of Miami, and then Nolan Perry last year, drafted by Toronto. And, we wanted to ask you about Trevor Rogers, 12 and 21 so far in the big leagues with Miami. He's struck out 302 batters, a 4.13 ERA. When you saw him, what's the thing that you notice about him? Did you think to yourself, he's got, because people have stuff and then they have stuff, right? As far as a pitcher, it's either the gun or he can move the ball or he can throw several different pitches with, different speeds. And he's a lefty. Lefties are in demand in the pros. They always are. What was it about him that you saw that said, hey, he might have a chance to play at that next level?
Well, we've known Trevor since he was down in Little League, right? And he's 6'7", and he's always been a foot taller than everybody growing up. But he didn't always have that live of an arm as a younger kid. Once he got into a program in 8th grade, he just took off physically. The ball started jumping out of his hand, really just something like we've never really seen before with some of our other kids. And so we knew probably as an 8th grader that he was going to be something special. And then, as a freshman, got to tell you a funny story about Trevor. As a freshman, we brought him up to varsity, and our first inter squad of the spring, he shows up 15 minutes late to our first practice. So we sent him back down to the JV for 3 weeks. And he just got married this Christmas, and I officiated his wedding, and I had to tell that story at his wedding. Best thing ever happened to Trevor Rogers. He got cut from the varsity team for 3 weeks his freshman year. But he's a phenomenal kid. You know what I mean? I would say probably the biggest attribute about Trevor is he's always been a humble young man. He's always been, the best in his class, the best pretty much in New Mexico as he was coming through his 4 years. But man, he had zero cockiness, very humble. all he wanted to do is get on the mound and just beat you. And, I think that's kind of what's helped carry him as far as he has made it so far. And really, he graduated in 17 and he made it up to the pros. And by 2020, playing just 2 years in the minor league. So it just shows you the talent that he has, the work ethic that he has. And so, I think 2021, he was in the running for Rookie of the Year, made the All-Star team that year. Last year, he struggled, had battled some injuries, and just kind of went through some dips in his game. But I think this summer he kind of really understood up at this level. There's always going to be somebody bigger and better than you coming up, and if you ain't working extremely hard, somebody's going to pass you. And so I think he's got a good mindset going into the spring. I usually talk to him a couple times a week, and he did well this spring, and so he's going to be the fourth starter this year for the Marlins. He actually throws this Sunday against the Mets. But he's doing well, doing very well. Got married, like I said, here in this Christmas break, and just looking for some big things out of that young man.
Yeah, you know what? Now that you said that, we'll definitely keep an eye on him. And it's again amazing that you coached a major leaguer, and we'll get to Nolan Perry here in a minute. Your caveman, 13-3 so far on the season. You mentioned Mabry, the pitcher. He's still with you, and that's definitely good. As a team, you're batting 368 on the season so far. Tell us a little bit about the South Fuentes tournament. 17-10, Rio Rancho. Ron Murphy, one of the best people you could meet in the entire world. A great baseball coach. Tell us about that game. That was a heck of a game. The Rio Rancho exploded for 17. But tell us a little bit about that championship game at South Fuentes.
Well, we go to that as long as I've been coaching here. We've always come up to his tournament just for the simple fact that we play down south all year, and this gives us an opportunity to kind of see where we stand with the rest of the 5A schools up north, and kind of really gives us an opportunity to see what our team looks like. And so, coming into that Thursday, Cleveland's has a good squad, and we knew that they were going to be ready to go, and so. For us, we started kind of our number one, which is Mac. We threw him against Cleveland on Thursday, and I think I beat him 7-0 or whatever it was. And then we threw our number two, which is another left-hander, Tristan Thomas, against Sandia, and that was a nail biter. Sandia's, they've got a great team again, and so I think we ended up beating them 5-4 there in the seventh inning of that game. And so, just for us to get back up here and play some of these northern schools that we know are going to be in the state tournament come May is important for us. And in Rio Rancho, they can definitely swing it. They got a good team. We threw our number 3 guy at them, and just had some issues right from the get-go of the first inning, right? A couple hit by pitches, walk, and then they get a couple hits, and before you know it, we're down 5 or 6 to nothing, and we only got 2 outs. And so just a lot of credit to them. They hit the ball extremely well, but really impressed with our kids. We could have rolled over and died after the first inning, down 9-0, but we came back and outscored them pretty much every inning from the second through the seventh, and just battled. And I was super proud of our kids because I think a lot of teams would have rolled over and quit and just said, hey, let's get ready for the next one. But our kids stayed in it and worked and battled, and so it was a good experience for us. Getting beat by good teams. I tell our kids all the time, there's nothing wrong with having some humble pie, because it puts you back in your spot. It makes you understand that you're not as good as you think you are, and we got a lot of work to put ahead of us.
It lets you kind of reassess things and say, hey, Coach May is right. Maybe I was out of position on this play. We didn't make the right pitch on that play. So I think you never want to lose. But as you mentioned, Rio Rancho, there's no shame in losing to a Ron Murphy baseball team, the all-time leader in baseball as a coach in the state of New Mexico, the all-time leader here. I want to go over some of your batters. Ty Melita's hitting 333. Zach Galindo hitting 370. Tristan Thomas, you mentioned him, 341. He's got 4 doubles, 3 triples. Aiden Quintana, 425. Dylan Salcido, 465. Mac Mabry, your number 1 pitcher, I believe, or number 2, he's hitting 468. Fabian Hernandez at 344. So you've got some very good batters, coach. Some very aggressive batters. It sounds like you got a pretty deep lineup again.
Yeah, no, we're excited about our team. like I said earlier in the show, we graduated 4 seniors, and really 3 of them got a lot of playing time. So we've got a big group of seniors this year. We've got 9, and almost all 9 of them contributed and played quite a bit last year. And so coming into this year, I was excited. I feel like we've got a good pitching staff. You know, we got about 7 or 8 arms that we can go to at any time, and got some kids that can swing it too. I think out of this group of 9 seniors, we've got 5 that are going to go play college baseball after this. So this is a good group of kids, right? And so we're excited for this year. Like I said, we're 13-3. That's exactly where we were at last year when we left the Rio Rancho tournament. We were 13-3 heading into district. So, you know, it's kind of what we told them yesterday. We're proud of the way they've played and, you know, battled back against Rio Rancho, and we know we'll probably see them again at some point in the state tournament. And so, you know, there's nothing wrong with you know, what we did this weekend. We're really excited for it. So, you know, we've got 16 games under our belt, and we've got pretty much nothing but district left coming here in April. So trying to keep the ship, you know, kind of steered in the right direction. And, you know, we tell our kids all the time, we don't want to be playing our best baseball in February and March. We want to be playing our best baseball in April and May. And so I think our kids are, you know, really understanding that and working hard to try to get ourselves ready here for the last half of the season.
You got Artesia, not till next week. You got a week off then, right? You have a week off. You don't play Artesia till next week.
Correct. Yeah, we set up our schedule like that every year, where we play a whole bunch of tournaments, you know, early, and then we try to take about a week and a half break where we can rest up our bodies, rest up our arms right before district, and kind of break down our season into, you know, 3 seasons. And so we're kind of going into the second season of district here. And so, you know, it's big for Carlsbad. I think last year we won our 50th district championship. And so that was a big milestone for our kids last year. And so it's going to be our next goal ahead of us, is to try to take care of district and make sure we're playing well here in April and get ourselves ready to go for the state tournament in May.
Coach, tell us about Nolan Perry. We asked you about Trevor Rogers. Nolan Perry's got drafted by the Toronto Blue Jays. Give us an update on him.
Nolan's doing well. So got drafted last June and went out to Florida this past fall. And it's kind of like a little bit of, it's not a rookie league, but they bring in all the draft picks and keep them together and run them through some workouts. And so did well in the fall. He's back up there now. Said he's throwing pretty well. He's really excited. I think at the end of this week, they're kind of telling him where they're going to send him, either to low A or high A to start out the season. But he said he feels well throwing the ball. He said he's around 95, 96 and has command of all his pitches still. So I think that was the biggest thing for him getting drafted. You know, last year we had scouts following us around all year long, and multiple, you know, scouts were saying, hey, we got kids that can throw 99, 100 miles an hour, but they don't know where it's going. And what's different about Nolan is he can throw 94, 95, but he can throw 4 pitches for a strike at any time and has command of them. And I think that's what's going to help him probably move up through the system pretty quick, is he's going to be a kid that'll keep him in games. He's not a kid that's going to go walk, base hit, and give up runs that way. He's going to be able to throw strikes and keep his team in games. So I think he's got a bright future ahead of him as well, like Trevor.
No question about it. Cody May, Carlsbad boys head baseball coach. We sure appreciate you joining us today on the Sports Desk.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us, and look forward to continuing to follow the show.
Yes, sir. Thanks so much. Good luck against Artesia on April 6th is the next Cavemen baseball game. So we wish you luck there, and good luck in district.
Sounds great, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you.
For producer Alden Iwani, I'm Ed Nunez. We'll see you next week on the Sports Desk.